Aston University needs no introduction, but here I am telling you all about it. Well, the university is one of the best in the UK with 1, much more affordable tuition fee, number 2, great rankings, 3, variety of programs, 4, high student satisfaction rate, 5, placement years, 6, industry connections with over 1,000 employers, 7, located right in the heart of country in Birmingham, 8, well, I may go on and on, so let's stop it right here and welcome Saumya Agarwal, Country Advisor for Aston University in India, to answer all your burning questions. But before we begin, let me know which other universities you want me to cover next in a video like this. Put that in the comments below.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I am Saumya. I am the Country Manager for Aston University, based in Delhi. Aston University is in Birmingham, which is the second largest city in the UK. And that being said, there are a lot of companies that are headquartered in Birmingham. There are direct flights from Delhi, Bombay, various parts of India as well. So quite accessible in that regard. Being the second largest city, again, the kind of multicultural or the kind of diversity that we as a university have, it's absolutely fantastic. We've got students from over 180 nationalities, which definitely gives students a lot of multicultural experience being a part of the university. And the kind of programs that we usually focus on are business engineering and health sciences. So we're not really a creative arts university, but more of a university that focuses a lot on student careers and, more professional programs, so to say.
Right. Cool. Talking about the university and, when we talk about, getting an admit. So I think the first question which comes to everyone's mind is the entry requirements. So can you briefly take me through UG and PG entry requirements?
Yes, absolutely. So for undergrad, they're pretty standard, to be honest. We definitely look at the class 10th math grade for all the programs across the board. However, the 12th math, which a lot of universities I know say is mandatory for a lot of programs, such as say business and management as one of the most common ones. We do not ask for class 12 math, and I think that is where Aston definitely has a lot of flexibility. So we primarily ask for class 10 math because that's like basic level of math that any student, even on a business and management sort of a program, would need for some modules really. So 10th math, so students definitely would have to submit their class 10th mark sheet to us. They can submit their class 12 predicted grades, wherein we ask for anywhere between 75% to about 85% for CBSE and ISE boards. And we do accept all the state boards from across India, including NIOS. The NIOS and state board grades that we really require is just about 5% more than what we require from CBSE, ISE.
Got it.
And when we speak about PG, so what we've done is we've tiered all the universities within India into 3 different tiers, because there are some really top universities such as say the IITs and the IIMs, and then we've got universities that are fairly easier to get into. So those have been classified as tier 2 and tier 3 universities.
Got it.
So if a student is going into an IIT or IIM, it's usually harder for these students to score on their undergrad degrees at these institutions. So for these institutions, we would need about 50%. For tier 2, tier 3 universities, it would be about 60%, 65%. So given that we've got over, I think, 50,000 institutions across India, we've actually published an entire list of these tiered universities on our website. So if the team or the students, they literally just Google Aston University India, they'll be able to find the entire list under the postgraduate, master's, direct entry requirements, and they'll be able to download the institution list there and see what tier the institution lies in and how much exactly we would require from that institution.
Makes sense. And talking about entry requirements, I think the next obvious thing is the English entry requirements. And I think UK is known for English, the IELTS waivers in general. So do you offer IELTS waivers to, let's say, obviously I think CBSE and ICSE students, they do get IELTS waivers in most universities, but can you briefly take me through that as well, including for state board students as well?
Absolutely. So I think that's a fantastic question, to be honest, Saket. Because I remember my student journey and how skeptical I was to take IELTS, and I mean, honestly, I'm really bad with examinations. So I completely understand where the question really comes from for most of our students, really. So yes, you're correct to say that we do have IELTS waivers for CBSE and ISE students. They need to score a minimum of 75% in class 12 English. We also have IELTS waivers for A-levels, basically GCSE and A-level students, and IB students as well.
Right.
State boards, of course, are more commonly the ones that we get this query from.
Right.
Yes, we do have IELTS waivers for students from most state boards, except for 6, which are primarily the high-risk regions for us in terms of compliance.
Okay.
So more like Punjab, Gujarat, UP, Uttarakhand, Haryana, Telangana, and NIOS. So students from these 6 to 7 boards don't really get an IELTS waiver.
And what kind of IELTS score do you look at for UG and PG?
So for UG, for most programs, it's about 6.0 overall, with nothing less than 5.5 in each section. And for PG, for most programs, it could be 6.5 overall, with nothing less than 6 in each section.
Got it.
There are some programs that we do make an exception, where, say, for example, if a student has a 6.5 overall, but 5.5 in one section, we might be able to accept that. But students will have to study a couple of extra English modules once they come to the university. We don't charge anything extra for it, but we might be able to accept these students.
Right, makes sense. Cool. Moving on to the next question, Saumya, which is about the cost. So, how much should one set aside for the degrees at both UG and PG level?
I think, again, a fantastic question, because my parents were definitely concerned about the costs. So our UG programs normally cost about £17,000, £18,000. So it really depends on which college or which school they're studying at. Management and engineering usually cost about £17,000 to £18,000. Our health and life sciences degrees usually cost about £20,000 per annum, and this is for UG. And this is primarily because we do a lot of hands-on teaching for students across the board. So in fact, if I really speak about health and life science programs like medicine, for example. So medicine, of course, is our most expensive one, at about £44,000 per annum for 5 years. So our students actually do more number of lab hours than students at Cambridge. So there's a lot of experiential learning that we're giving our students there. And of course, the more they are in labs, the higher is the cost of sorts.
Obviously.
So at the PG level, it's about £23,500, with our most expensive program being our MBA at about £30,000. In addition to that, of course, students have to keep aside their money for living and accommodation expenses. Now, that's another big advantage for students to come to Aston. Again, being in Birmingham, because it is not as expensive as London, you know. So that cost-wise as well, then it's quite effective.
Great. And moving on to the next question, which is again associated with money. So scholarships. So UK universities are known for scholarships. Does Aston have any for Indian students?
Yes, absolutely, we do. So in fact, Sakib, we are still finalizing all our scholarships, the regional ones. So what we do is we have a few regional scholarships, which would be awarded only to students from India and would not be applicable to students from other countries. And then we've got international scholarships that students from all over the world compete for. So since we are still finalizing scholarships, I think it would just make sense for me to tell you what we had last year, because I don't expect them to be any different this year.
Right.
So we had 1,000 and 2,000 pound scholarships on academic or merit basis, as we say in India. Then we had a 3,000 pound global ambassador scholarship. The students had to make a 1-minute video telling us why they want to come to Aston, and creativity primarily is what we were looking at there. Then we had a 6,000 pound women in engineering scholarship. And as the title says, it was for female students applying for engineering programs. 8,000 pounds vice chancellor scholarship. And we also had an up to 100% scholarship, which was an enterprise scholarship, where if you watch Shark Tank, where people basically pitch their businesses. So that's exactly what the format is for this enterprise scholarship as well, where students pitch a business idea.
That's interesting.
And it's fantastic, to be honest, because, we've got so many really cool businesses that have come out of Aston. And honestly, it's not like it's compulsory for these students to eventually start a business. They could just do something completely different, right? But the fact is that if they've got a business idea in their heads, eventually they will probably end up starting that business. It has to be a unique business idea, and one student gets 100% with the two students getting 40% each. So most of these scholarships will also apply to undergrad students.
Cool. Moving on to the next question, Saumya, which is again somehow related to money, I think, because I think money is the most important part here. So any support you guys give in terms of part-time jobs and full-time jobs?
Yes, in fact, we do have a lot of part-time jobs for students on campus as well. Speaking of part-time jobs and full-time jobs, we do get a lot of questions around placements as well. So just so you know, and just so our audiences know as well, Aston was the pioneer of the placement year option in the UK. And very, very few people know that. So we've actually been running the placement year since back in 1970s. So we go back to the day. And that being said, we definitely have a lot of focus on jobs and placements and careers for our students. So yes, we have a proper careers and placements team on campus where students should definitely reach out to on day one of them being at the university. So one problem that we've really seen with our Indian students is that they walk into the careers and placements team or the room and they just go like, hey, can you help me revamp my CV? Not knowing what they even want to do, right? What job they want. So it's really a journey because every CV has to be tailored to what job you want to apply for, and what job you want to apply for has to be in line with what you want in life.
Makes sense.
So it's an entire journey that our careers and placement team is really helping the student with, rather than just saying, hey, let's revamp your CV, let's write your cover letter, and let's just go ahead and apply for jobs. It doesn't work like that.
Got it.
So it's an entire nurture track that they've got. So yes, we do have an entire team on campus. We work with over 1,000 companies. We have recruitment fairs on campus to recruit students for part-time and full-time jobs. We get over 250 companies on campus for recruitment fairs, and students can in fact reach out to the careers and placements team even after 3 years of graduating.
Great. Cool. So just to quickly wrap up this quick session, any tips and tricks you'd like to give someone who's applying for September 23 intake at Aston?
Yes, absolutely. So guys, one thing, definitely make sure that your personal statement is well written, because that makes a huge difference to your application. I get a lot of students even today who ask me, if my IELTS score is good, will I get a scholarship? Your IELTS has got nothing to do with your scholarship. IELTS is only for us to understand that you'll be able to cope up with your course and what is being taught in the class. But I think my biggest advice would be to please reach out to the careers and placements team on day one of being on campus. We as Indians don't really end up doing that a lot, but start applying for jobs when we're about to finish our degrees, because that's how the Indian system works, right? So I'm not saying that you're wrong, but that's just how our system works. But remember, that is not how the British system works. They actually start job applications about a year in advance. So they're already recruiting students for these students to start with them next October once they've graduated in September.
Makes sense.
So please be on time. Please don't delay things. Nobody is going to come to your room and be like, hey, you're a current student. Come on, get out. Let's revamp your CV. Let's prepare a nurture track for you. So please take the initiative. Go meet them. And definitely be very active with the Students' Union and the Student Clubs and Societies, because it adds a lot to your CVs. Don't just be stuck to your academics and looking at getting good scores all the time, because again, that's a very Indian thing where employers would just look at your grades to give you a job. In the UK, they do not just look at your grades. It will not have as much weightage, really, as the rest of the things on your CV as well. So I know that wasn't just one advice, quite a few, but
I believe it's very helpful. Cool. Thank you so much, Saumya. Thank you so much for doing this, and I hope we get you back for another session like this pretty much soon. Aston is open for September 2023 intake, and like Saumya said, there's so many scholarships on offer giving you up to 100% tuition fee waiver. But for that, apply early. You can get in touch with our experts by clicking the link in the description box below and get your application started to commence your journey at Aston. See you next time.